It's my pleasure to welcome you here to the Clark Howard Show.
On your birthday. Happy birthday, Clark Howard.
This is kind of embarrassing. You brought in this happy birthday banner.
This is a used happy birthday banner from the dollar store. I'll just have you know.
Yeah, this goes all the way back to before it was $1.25.
It's got some rips in it.
Bent letters and stuff. That's our way on our show.
Happy birthday.
Helping you stretch every dollar. Thank you. Thank you. A year from today, I get to start taking Social Security.
Fantastic.
70 years old next year. So this birthday is basically useless.
No.
No, next year has great financial benefit.
All right.
But anyway, I'm so glad you're with us today on my birthday, where we're all about empowering you with advice and information that gives you the ability to make smart financial decisions in your life. And so on my birthday, I'm going to give you, we got so many questions about my health. I alluded to it.
Talked a little about your great heart report yesterday.
Great heart report. I've got a new cancer report. I am just an old broken down mule falling apart.
Stop it. Huh? No, you're not. Don't say that.
So there's something I want to share with you coming up later, though, after we do the health update and stuff later in the podcast. I want to talk about keeping teens safe on the road. And there's new information that you don't have to spend a fortune on a vehicle to keep your teens safe on the road. And I'm going to fill you in with that brand new data later. And by the way, I'm not going to bury a headline. Do you know you can find a safe car for a teen for under $10,000? You're like, what about a safe car for me at my age for under $10,000? Because there were cars you could still get under 10 grand. Yes. So we're going to talk about that. All right. So I got really good news in honor of my birthday that I just shared. If you didn't hear yesterday's podcast, that in December of last year, I had a failing heart valve, an aortic valve, and I was going to die. And I had the valve replaced with an experimental valve called the Sapien X4. And in a very involved operation that was done basically robotically by 3 surgeons. And I was tested in January, tested again just now, and my birthday gift is I got a great report on the valve, and it's got some stray bleeding, but not enough to keep it from doing its job. And the really cool thing is my heart is stronger today than it was 1 month out from the surgery. Surgeon said my heart was fantastic. Enough about that. I also have had prostate cancer for almost 16 years and never had treatment, never had surgery, never had radiation, anything like that, because I'm one of the lucky ones that about upper 30s to around 40% of men diagnosed with prostate cancer have a genetic version of it that is not necessarily ever life-threatening. It's just knowing who that nearly 40% would be. So I've been in something called active surveillance for these 16 years, and I just had my latest checkup at UCLA Medical Center, and I had a very involved MRI. I have to sit still. Anybody who knows me cannot imagine that I sit still and quiet for 75 minutes
No way.
in an MRI machine. But I do. It doesn't faze me at all.
Do you listen to something?
No, you can't listen to anything. It's too
loud?
MRI is too loud. So my record, I busted last year in that I fell asleep and messed up 2 of the studies and had to have them repeated because you have to stay completely still. But I was perfect again this year, no retakes, and my results were fantastic, and I kicked the can forward another year.
When you get out, are you like talking to mom?
No, what I did was I immediately got dressed, left UCLA Medical.
I know what this is going to be.
And walked to the
In-N-Out Burger.
Because I hadn't had anything to eat in 17 hours. Nothing to eat, nothing to drink. leading up to the test. And my reward every year after I leave UCLA is I walk to the In-N-Out Burger just off the campus.
And what's your order there now that you've changed your diet?
Okay, so I busted my diet for this.
Okay.
It was a celebration.
Mm-hmm.
I had a 3x3. You'll have to go read the secret menu to know what a 3x3 is. A 3x3, and they don't have Coke Zero, and had a Diet Coke to celebrate being out of the MRI machine. But I didn't know till, I guess, the next day that my results were good, and I just keep going forward. At some point, they'll let me go more than a year between hopping in that MRI machine. And the insurer always sends these letters. You know, getting an MRI at the hospital is really expensive. I'm like, yeah, I know. I wouldn't be getting it there if it weren't a specialized, advanced MRI. That when I first started getting it, was experimental. So what I want to say on my birthday to you is I want men to have as many birthdays as possible. Men ignore their health. Men are really good at ignoring their health. Prostate cancer, if you're not one of the lucky ones like me, can take your life. And so you want to make sure, depending on your situation, if you're black, starting about age 40, you want to be checked regularly. Because black individuals tend to get prostate cancer younger and more aggressively than others. If you're not black, starting age 50, you want to be checked. You want to make sure you're doing this regularly, because even a more aggressive kind caught early, the survival rate from prostate cancer, let me put it in reverse. The number of people who die from prostate cancer is half of what it was 20 years ago. Half. Because there are some improvements in treatment, and in addition, the improvements in screening have made a big difference in saving men's lives. And often it takes the woman in a man's life to push a man to go to the doctor. And so get the guy in there to be checked, because you don't want to, it's kind of like the whole thing with colon cancer, that how treatable it is found early and how deadly it is found late. And to ignore the colonoscopy when you're supposed to start getting it, which I think is age 45 now.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, getting that kind of stuff done, so important, because to call it, you can't call it a necessary death, but to die unnecessarily from not doing the basics about taking care of your health, what a bad idea. So as a birthday gift to me, try guilt, whatever works. If you're not taking care of yourself as a guy, and you can't even remember the last time you went to see a doc, make sure you're taking care of this stuff, especially in your 40s or 50s, so you don't have a silent killer take you out.
All right. And you've done a lot for people. I think you've definitely saved lives over the years. Even though this happened to you, it's unfortunate, but you've definitely been a huge advocate. So.
I've been so lucky. And the work of the Prostate Cancer Foundation, which I was on the board of for 12 years, and advancing the care for prostate cancer, absolutely amazing. And if you do get a new diagnosis of prostate cancer and you don't know who to trust and what to do, go read the information available for patients or their families at pcf.org. They work hard on giving you plain, simple English information to understand what you got and what to do about it moving forward.
I remember you were immediately told to get surgery, and you did research back then, and you found that it wasn't necessary for you.
But you know, 16 years ago, in defense of doctors in daily practice, they really were not aware about the research going on. They're so busy in daily practice that they missed what was going on at the cutting edge. And so in my case, it would have been a terrible mistake for me to have had surgery. And by doing the research and getting second opinions, I was able to go on the path I've been on. And then you got to stick to it. If you go active surveillance, you can't miss your appointments. You've got to do exactly what's required of you, because you don't want it to slip up on you and take you out.
All right, we'll go to some questions. Let's pick on the Postal Service and get some Clark Stinks for you for tomorrow. This one's from Roger in California. Hi, Clark. I've been using a P.O. box as my main mailing address for 3 decades now, since I would move frequently as a college student and establishing a career. It has been a great way for stability and security for statements and documents. The USPS used to have it available inexpensively, but over the last few years, the cost has increased exponentially. It's now $200 for a year of service. I can't understand why they charge so much, since it appears to be significantly less labor intensive than free service to my residents. What's your opinion, and do you have an alternative low-cost solution to help secure my mail?
So, Roger, I have progressed on this because of the extreme reliability problems the Postal Service is having. Again, not the fault of the hard-working men and women who work for the Postal Service, who are busting their butts, working incredibly long hours, a lot of mandatory overtime to try to get mail working, but the system is broken. And I can't believe I'm saying this, I am now recommending that you get those bills and things like that electronically instead of through the mail, because the reliability factors are so bad now with the Postal Service. I've always liked people getting physical bills. I don't like it anymore because you can't count on the Postal Service. As far as getting physical pieces, you need to get that way. You can now go to alternatives. A lot of UPS stores have their own version of post office boxes, and compare the prices of having your mail go to one of those versus going to a P.O. box with the Postal Service. You also can use their services now that are bonded, where your mail goes to them. They open the mail for you, scan it, and send you equivalent of emails of your mail each day. So you actually see a physical copy of the bill. After they've scanned it, they hold it for you if you want, or they shred it for you if you wish. And it's not going to save you money over the $200 at the Postal Service, but you'll have what to me is a superior offering of a service. And again, the Postal Service, there's not a problem with the workers. It is with the management of the Postal Service. With our current Postmaster General has been a total disaster.
Monica in Missouri says, Clark, or better known as my boyfriend, thank you for years of your expertise. Thanks to you, we've saved enough money to go to Switzerland. The airline agent told me I need a visa along with a passport. However, the European Union site says applications are not available yet. Can you enlighten me, please? And thank you for changing my family's trajectory.
So Monica, Christa says Missouri. I'll say Missouri.
I tried to say it Missouri.
Whichever way you like to say it is fine with us. Don't know what part of the state you live in. If you're Missouri or Missouri.
I specifically did that on purpose because I was criticized. Yes.
Oh, somebody criticized you for saying Missouri instead of Missouri?
I always say Missouri.
Yeah, it depends on...
Nevada. Yes.
Yeah, well, Nevada is Nevada.
Okay.
Not Nevada. Anyway, so the visa thing for Europe, this is a can that keeps getting kicked down the road. Don't worry about it at all. I'm happy that the agent told you about it so that you wouldn't be turned away at the airport. Anybody booking travel to Europe, now it's pushed to 25. Don't know that it'll happen then. You're going to have the equivalent of a visa. It's a brief application. It's all about money. That will give funding to the European Union. And so just know before you go in 25 to see if it's required yet. And there'll be a lot of publicity about it when it is required, but people have busy lives and they might miss it. That's why you need to check yourself. But for now, no requirement.
Bill in Pennsylvania wrote in again. He says, here's your requested follow-up on my submission to you regarding Verizon. Briefly, in December of 2022, I signed up for their 5G home internet at $25 a month for 10 years, and they ended this pricing without notice in March of 24. After several unsuccessful calls to Verizon to regain my pricing, I filed a complaint with the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office and wrote you about my situation. You recommended I contact the BBB before leaving Verizon. Results: in the afternoon of my morning complaint to the BBB, I received an email from Verizon Executive Relations stating they had received my complaint, were apologetic on the circumstance, and promised resolution. Over the next 6 weeks, I received 13 updates from them.
No,
and
13?
Finally, on May 31st, a return to my original 5G pricing and refunds of all overages. Your recommendation to contact the BBB got immediate results, and I thank you. The Attorney General's office was also involved and required them to respond within 3 weeks of the complaint, according to their executive relations. So big thanks for recommending to go to bat to keep my pricing as I was ready to move on.
So, Bill, I want to thank you for the follow-up. That's why when there's something like this where you feel like big companies really mistreated you, I always want to hear what happens later. And it's why with big companies that they don't mean to be crooked or dishonest. Just bureaucratically, they kind of break down, and the result for you is that. And so with a company that perceives itself to be legit and honest and decent, the Better Business Bureau is a great tool because it allows people with authority at the company directly, not some outside contracted call center, to actually cut through the clutter and get to the bottom of something. And that's where the Better Business Bureau is a great lever. It worked for you. You have your price back. And I appreciate you sharing it. And yes, just because you file a complaint with the Better Business Bureau doesn't mean it will be resolved to your satisfaction. But it will, at a legitimate company, get you to the right people to try to resolve something, and it worked for you. And you enjoy that 10 years of internet at $25 a month. It's a good deal. Coming up ahead, new list of the safest cars for teens from a most unusual alliance I'll share with you straight ahead. As the father of 3 teenagers at one time, they've come out of the early driver stage. I used to be terrified about them as new drivers. And my oldest was in 2 bad wrecks the year she was 16. One is a driver. Oddly, not her fault. She got hit by a 17-year-old who was on the wrong side of the road. And then another that she was a passenger and it was the driver's fault. And it's just such a problem with teens. Their brains are still developing. They're inexperienced behind the wheel. They think they're invincible. And as a parent, when your kid's on the road, you want your kid to be safe. And a lot of people think that means you buy them a big honking SUV, new or used, and somehow that'll make them be safe. And unfortunately, a lot of times that's not going to make them safe. There are certain vehicles that have proven over time to have the right stuff about how they're designed and the equipment they have on them that makes them safe, and they don't have to be a fortune. And there's a new cooperative effort between the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety and Consumer Reports, where they have worked together to come up with a list of affordable used vehicles that are safe for you to put a young driver in, a new driver. And they start at $9,000 and go up to $19,000. All these vehicles, and it's a long list, all these vehicles have specific things that make them safer on the road. Emergency handling characteristics, how quickly they brake, a variety of features in terms of how the passengers survive various forms of accidents. And it is really, really useful because I think about over the years how many times an anxious parent has asked me what vehicle I think would be, or vehicles would be good choices for their kid to be in. One of the surprising things is you would think because of the weight differential between a small car and a big one that there would be no small cars that would be considered to be safe to have a teen on the road. But there were 5 that made the list. Midsize, there were 6 that made the list. Only 1 large car made the list. SUVs, more small ones made the list than larger ones. Why? Because SUVs built on a car platform generally turn out to be safer for a driver than the ones that are on a truck platform. And SUVs represent 60% of the vehicle market now in the United States. Small SUVs, somewhere around a dozen, made the joint list of the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety and Consumer Reports. So if this applies to you, if you have a young driver, or maybe just because you want to be, for the used vehicle you are looking at to buy, you want to be safe on the road for yourself, because safety shouldn't just be about our teens. This list is one that we will provide a link for you from our show notes, and you'll be able to see what it's going to cost and which these models are for various styles of vehicles that are safe. One thing I will point out, I don't know if it was based on the research they did, how they did the research, or what the reason is, because I've got no written explanation of this. No pickup trucks are on the list. So if a pickup truck is the desired vehicle, you're not going to find help from this list. But how about it? You don't have to spend tons of money for a vehicle that your young driver will be safe. There are plenty of affordable choices that are out there for you. Krista?
And the car my son drives is on there, but it's the year after as a used car, so I don't know.
You know what I forgot to mention?
What?
It's not a single electric vehicle that's recommended. Do you know why?
Because teens drive too fast in them?
Electric vehicles have so much power. They're so fast. They're so quick. They're so fast that they're not a good choice for an inexperienced driver.
My son's driving a 2015 Mazda CX-5, and the 2016 and 17 make the list for used cars. So,
but his did not.
Nope. Ken and others, he's still driving it though. Ken and others says, 10 years ago, I invested $400 into NVIDIA. How do you pronounce that?
I always say, I think it's called NVIDIA, but I always pronounce it NVIDIA, which is not right.
Which was 20 shares. The stock split to become 80 shares. Now the stock split 10 for 1, so I will have 800 shares. It will outweigh my portfolio, but I live abroad, and due to stock trading limitations, due to me living outside of the U.S., I can't sell. What can I do?
So, Ken, I'm totally puzzled by this because there is no restriction I know of unless the foreign country you're specifically living in has some kind of restriction. It would have to be the brokerage you're with that has a restriction. You may have to move your account to a brokerage that is very welcoming to Americans living abroad. As an example, Charles Schwab has long had programs specifically designed for Americans living abroad. And there's normally a big desire of brokerage houses to follow you overseas because people who tend to work overseas as Americans that are on foreign assignments of various types usually are much higher on the income ladder than the typical American. And so I'm totally puzzled by it. But start with, you wouldn't want to try all 3 of my favorite children. Vanguard would not be a good play here. But see if there are restrictions that would limit you if you were to migrate your brokerage account to Fidelity or Schwab, that I think both would be perfectly good at being able to handle the disposal of this stock. Now, you said you paid $400 for these shares. How long ago was it?
10
years ago. And now that's worth 6 figures, right?
Yeah.
And so that's doing what I always say not doing. I always say don't bet on the fourth horse in the fifth race.
Unless you can afford to lose some money. Maybe
right.
it wasn't a huge investment.
And this $400 turned out to be the right ticket. And, man, 400 becoming six figures, that's incredible. But I'm dull. I'm all about index funds. I generally am not involved in individual stocks. But NVIDIA certainly worked out for you.
Brandon in California says, we own our house outright and we plan to sell it, valued at over more than $2 million this summer. We have a new house being built, which is scheduled.
In California, so $2 million is like a little shed.
We have a house being built, which is scheduled to be completed around December. Where can we park $2 million in cash until our new house is completed? Do we have to split the money in increments of $250,000 and have it in 8 institutions? Would it be safe transferring all $2 million to Fidelity and depositing it into a money market account?
You took the words right out of my mouth with the question you asked, Brandon. Yes, that is exactly what I would have said. I mean, you could put it in a CDARS-based bank, which is, they call it something else other than CDARS now, but it's where you're able to put amounts of pretty much any amount in one financial institution. The $2 million would be absolutely safe. And then they spread it among many different institutions so that there's never more than $250,000 in any institution, but you do it with just a single account. What do they call it now instead of CDARS?
Is it ICS? Intrafi?
Intrafi, I think, is the new name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Intrafi. But if you do CDARS, CDARS, it comes up right away. But I much prefer your idea with where rates are now in money market funds. Put all the money in Fidelity. If you want the absolute highest level of safety, put it in a U.S. Treasury money market fund. You'll earn a great rate, and it will be basically a direct obligation of the federal government, which is even a hair superior to having it in a bank CD or savings account.
All right, I wanted to read you a couple of fun ones. This is from Kay of Wisconsin. Thank you for your great consumer team, and thanks to Bob that helped my daughter get her car manufacturer to honor their warranty. At 9 years old and 90,000 miles of her 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, her transmission failed.
The only company that offers 10-year is
Kia.
Kia or Hyundai.
Kia declined.
Is it Kia?
Yeah,
Okay.
Kia declined to cover it. It was over $3,000, claiming she had bought a car with the wrong transmission. My daughter read her warranty and found nothing to disallow her vehicle. I called your hotline. Bob helped me find the email address of the head of Kia Warranties. He advised how my daughter should word an email and also to copy the CEO of Kia. Surprise, they are covering the cost of the repair. This whole process had taken over 6 months.
Wow.
I just wonder how many other Kia owners have been discouraged to paying for covered repairs themselves.
So there's no way of knowing if Kia's playing a rope-a-dope with people filing claims, but how fantastic that Bob and the Team Clark Consumer Action Center gave you the guidance to fight your own battle, and you won, and that's just great.
It's clark.com/CAC if you want to learn how to reach them.
Free, direct, one-on-one consumer advice and information, 30 hours each week, something we've been doing now for 31 years.
To conclude your birthday episode, I wanted you to hear this one from Soba in New Jersey. Dear Clark, thank you for your constant guidance and advice starting from my early childhood. You were always on in the background of my many long family road trips, as my dad is your #1 fan and always had your radio show on, which I mostly slept to. While I only started really paying attention to your advice in my young adulthood, I want to sincerely thank you, as I've managed to gain a net worth as a single woman of almost $1 million at 33 and could afford a 35% down payment on my dream home in New Jersey. I've never felt empowered to celebrate myself and achievements, but I've had so many people in my life tell me I should be proud of myself of this financial feat during the current housing climate. However, I realize that you've been an honest source of information with your trademark humor and humility that has enabled me to plan my financial future wisely. Thanks for all that you do.
Well, thanks to you for sharing that as like a birthday wish for me, because I can't receive anything better than the gratitude you express. But really, you should celebrate the personal discipline that you have had in your life 33 years old, already $1 million nearly in net worth, own your own home with more than a third down as down payment. You need to celebrate your victories. You need to take a victory lap, and I'm really proud of you. Congratulations.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
You going to go out for a nice dinner?
I don't know where I have coupons to. We'll see. But
we have a list of, like, on clarkdeals.com, they still have a list of all the places you can eat for free on your birthday and get freebies. Check it out.
Should I do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or treat yourself.
No, that actually eating for free, that is the treat.
Okay.
That's fantastic. And I want to tell you that it's been a fantastic year for me leading into my birthday today. I hope that you have a great rest of your day. And thank you so much for the trust you have shown in me and what we do on our social media, on our websites, with our newsletter, with our Team Clark Consumer Action Center, what we do on the podcast, and what I'm able to do if you live in a market where you hear me on radio or see me on television. I appreciate so much the fact that you trust what I'm able to provide. And thank you for sharing a part of my birthday with me today. So remember what we're about. Save more, spend less, avoid getting ripped off. And tomorrow, birthdays don't last long. There is no long honeymoon because tomorrow is Clark Stinks, where you get to hear how I'm stinking it up for your wallet. See you tomorrow.